Open your mouth more. You okay?
Sure. My name's Christopher Macken, and I have a film in the festival circuit right now called For the Safety of Theo. You can see the little posters down here. It's tough to describe the genre. I always described it as like kind of like an art house thriller, but some people view it as a comedy. It's been really weird reactions in the audiences when I get to watch it in a theater full of people. But it's essentially about a man suffering with obsessive compulsive disorder, following him the morning after a one-night stand, doing all his compulsive rituals to try and feel safe after this encounter of intimacy, which, involves cleaning his apartment, cleaning himself, and eventually working up to going and getting himself tested. So yeah, it's a lot of fear chasing. A little about me. I'm a writer director originally from Massachusetts. Yeah, it's funny because I was originally like thrown in the comedy space, and comedy was all I used to do, from who I worked for to like the stuff I made. And so I definitely see how people could watch this and think it's a comedy just based off like the fast-paced editing and some of the comedic timing elements. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm definitely shifting genres, I feel, in my like artistic endeavors right now.
I often feel like that you can't have one without the other sometimes. If you have a dramatic piece, if you don't have a levity spot, or if you have comedy and you don't have not a serious spot, because there are just straight up comedies, but there are moments where they're genuine and real and authentic, and that kind of lends itself to a more serious tone at times. I feel like they're not peanut butter and chocolate, in the sense of we're discovering one another. They do mesh and coincide a lot of often.
Yeah, and it's a great tension breaker too, because like if this film was just straight up like the montage of compulsions, it would be so unenjoyable to watch. You need those little like that breathing room.
I would probably classify it as horror at that point.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I'm curious, what led you to it being a short? Was that always how you had written it, or did you pare it down? Was it a proof of concept? Where did it become a short film for you?
It did start off as a short, but as I was making it, I was like, I would love to adapt this into a feature because I could see it kind of taking the same like uh kind of route that like Sound of Metal took in a sense, meets like Fassbender's Shame.
The slow deterioration kind of aspect.
Exactly. And then like the eventual like the awareness of the problem and then seeking help, I feel like could be a much larger story. Because as much as I paint this film as like we're witnessing a rock bottom for this character lost in their compulsive behavior, I do think that there's more trouble that he can get himself into before he realizes that like, oh man, clearly I'm not doing something right and I need to shift behaviors and get some help. Yeah, so I mean, I have been kind of working on a little treatment to turn this into a proof of concept and then I don't know, make it into a feature one day. But yeah, it's intense because like I do suffer with OCD, and a lot of this, I mean, like obviously it's amplified and dramatized for the sake of the viewer, but it is difficult to write because it does come from a personal place.
And then allowing the actor to give room to it and interpret it and then push it to another boundary. Talk about how Dara took it to that level for you. What did he add to this that you didn't have going into it?
Well, I want to tell you first how Dara and I know each other. So he's an Ireland-based actor,
Yeah.
and back in I think 2012 or 2013, I had a film in the Boston Film Festival. I was still like a college student, and he acted in a film shot in Ireland that was at this festival, and no one from the film was able to attend. But I remember I watched it, and I was so captivated by him, and his film was like the best at the festival. And I had like, I think, tweeted at him or something, and we've been pen pals for like 10 years. And we'd never met in person, and we would just like, you know, geek out over movies together, like geek out over our favorite actors together, with the hopes of, you know, one day we'll get to work together. And yeah, this opportunity came, and I was like, do we have it in the budget to fly an actor from Ireland? And we're like, we'll make it work. And he's just so incredible. He's such a good guy and so talented, and like, not to throw shade on actors in Hollywood, but so many actor boys look like actor boys, or, you know, like they're a little, like they're pretty. Not saying Dara's not pretty,
Yeah.
but like he looks like a man, like he looks like a person, like he looks like a real guy. And I felt like that added to, you know, this whole thing. And so, yeah, you know, I reached out to him with the script, sent everything over, and was like, hey, we're going to start crowdfunding this and seeking other avenues of acquiring the budget. And is this something you'd be interested in? And he was like, I feel like everyone can relate to this story to a certain extent, whether it is just like an actual small fear around, like, you know, acquiring STDs, or just anything around like a one night stand. But yeah, he related to it to a certain level. And when he came down and we got to really prep together, he is such, I don't want to say a method actor, but he wanted to get the character's clothes as soon as possible, and like feel himself in the clothes and really dive into this character. And he loves backstory. You know, we talked about like where did this fear of sex come from with this character? And we really got so specific in the backstory. And I remember once I wanted to kind of like change something. I was like, oh, what if the mom actually did this? And he was like, oh, I can't. That's already locked in. I can't change it. And I was like, oh, okay.
I love that he methoded it, because, you know, how long was the shoot?
It was 3 days.
Mhm.
Yeah, the shoot was 3 days, and then the prep went by pretty fast. Actually, it was like 2 or 3 months.
The interesting thing about the drastic nature in which this film takes a turn, and it creates its narrative behind. I'm curious, from, you know, from somebody who is so deeply entrenched in it and has a personal take on it, how much do you hold back yourself from, you know, pushing this narrative? Was it something that you kind of just tapped a little bit on your shoulder? Okay, I need to focus on this for you know, from my own personal experience, or was it more of a, you know, let's see how far I can push this kind of idea for you?
Oh, it's kind of a mix of both. Like, I really wanted to create awareness about this. Like, I don't know, I'm having OCD myself, and like I'm part of all these Reddit subgroups, and I'm part of all of like these support groups online and whatnot. And this topic is like the most taboo, and people are the most ashamed to talk about
Yeah.
it. Because like sexual intrusive thoughts are probably like one of the number one intrusive thoughts, and people are so ashamed to talk about it. And so it was really about giving awareness to that specific topic, because I feel like, you know, just with what I've heard from like the OCD community in regards to this film, like I've it's been really nice. A lot of people have reached out to me and been like, wow, you're telling my story, like this is so incredible. And like that's what art's all about. And I'm just like shocked I was able to kind of portray it in that honest way. But I also, you know, the sex stuff aside, I did want to kind of paint like an accurate OCD uh you know, a depiction, because it's never really about the thing you're worrying about. You
Yeah.
know, you find one thing to obsess over, and then as soon as you do a compulsion, whether it's ruminating or whether it's seeking reassurance or whether it's cleaning yourself in your apartment, you'll get relief for a second, and then you jump on to the next thing. So I really just wanted to show that repetition, and I wanted to show the progression, and I wanted to show that it is just like a never-ending spiral, never-ending cycle. And like with this film, like it opens up on him checking his lips, and then he goes on for a whole day of just ritualistic compulsions until he finally gives himself something concrete to worry about. after, you know, the interaction and getting punched in the face. It's like you worried yourself until there was an actual problem.
Right? That's a commonality for a lot of folks who have, you know, OCD or have it's escaping me, hypochondria.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, you kind of wished it into existence.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, there are some films that do OCD, right? But I don't know, the majority of the time it is painted as a joke. Because
Yeah.
I mean, like, it can be funny to look at. It can be funny to hear what the intrusive thoughts are because they can be so outrageous, but like the person is suffering. Um, so like, yeah, there was just so many films where it's just like the light switch on and off, and it's a comedy, you know, like
Yeah.
that Jack Nicholson movie or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's always just painted in kind of a funny light. And I did want to just kind of bring a little more seriousness to it. So yeah, I think there does need to be more awareness. The tough thing with OCD is that it's such an umbrella, and there's
Yeah.
so many different kinds. It looks different for so many people. So it can be tough to like be like to give that diagnosis. So yeah, it's just you need to talk to people, and you need to like reason things out with a therapist and kind of put in the work to figure out what it actually is.
The other fascinating thing about this film that I think is really amazing is the pacing and talking about, you know, you really had to lean on the edit for a lot of kind of getting that franticness to it in film language, and for people who don't see the seamlessnesses of what we do in editing, you're almost doing a jump cut in a lot of respects,
Yeah.
which is a no-no. But it's becoming more popular. But to create that franticness, talk a little bit about your design and working with it, the editing, and trying to figure out how to keep that pacing going, and then at the moment when it needed to slow down.
Yeah. So finding that moment where he needs to slow down is definitely like when you want to give the audience a break and be like, okay,
Yeah.
they've earned a little breathing room.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the jump cuts, like when you have OCD and you are so entrenched in the thoughts, it is like living life in jump cuts because
Mhm.
it's the opposite of being present.
Mhm.
You know, you're not taking in the day. It's literally you're jumping from one thing to another. And it's like before you know it, the whole day's gone and you're like, "Oh, I spent the whole day worrying." So, I did want to jump quickly from compulsion to compulsion and then even scene to scene like, you know, from, you know, he does everything in his apartment and then he drives to the pharmacy to get a test.
Yeah.
And even just like being in the car for like 2 seconds,
Yeah.
not even, I think it's like 1 second. I'm like, he wasn't present on that car ride. He wasn't enjoying the views and like loving the car ride. It was just like another quick step to like getting some relief.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where all like the jumpy cuts came from.
Did you enjoy doing that? I mean, you know, because it's so against our nature, right? And so,
Yeah.
you know, we're so meticulous with where we want to cut things oftentimes that doing a jump cut rewires our brain a little bit.
Yeah, oh totally. I think it is kind of actually my instinct because I got like my start in filmmaking through music videos.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so, like, when I did, this film, like, I have a composer buddy who did the music, and he was, like, the first person I was talking to kind of develop the pacing, and so I kinda had the music before I had the pacing, and then so I just, like, cut to the music. And also, like, coming from a comedy background, like, one our executive producer, was Charlie Day, 'cause, he's been a
Okay,
great
yeah.
mentor of mine. And just kind of like being in the school of Always Sunny for the past, you know, I don't know, like 5 to 10 years, has really taught me to like cut the fluff.
Has Charlie seen the film?
Yeah, so he was nice enough to come watch my first cut and give me
Nice.
some notes. And the first cut wasn't nearly as like repetitive. Like I think
Mhm.
I showed the compulsions like once, and he was
Okay.
like, I'm not sure people are gonna know this is OCD. And I was like, that was the biggest note I got. And I was like,
Nice.
right, I need to do a lot of repetition. And then like the montage was born. So yeah, he helped me a lot.
What do you love about independent film? What is it about any film that keeps you making these things? Because, you know, like you said, you had to fly an actor from Ireland, you had to crowdfund this stuff. It doesn't, it, you know, it's not all rewarding all the time, but I mean, when you do something great, it becomes rewarding. But for you, what is it about independent film that keeps you coming back? What do you love about it?
Man, I mean, I don't really know any other way, really, at this
Nice.
point in my career. Like, obviously, I would love to have the opportunity to direct something on a studio level, but like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I would feel as like spoiled as I do with indie filmmaking because I get to, I don't know, run the show and take chances. Um, Whereas even if I did turn this into a feature, I doubt a studio would want to get behind it, you know? But yeah, I love indie filmmaking. It's just cool getting to pick my collaborators, even down to like, you know, some of the smaller roles, and establish a family and just kind of like follow it on its ride. That's not like predetermined, and just kind of, I don't know. It's been a cool process.